Hello, Mark here, and I trust you're well. Welcome to a legacy recording of one of our live Lightroom support community events. Most weeks I host up to a 2-hour Zoom session where for the first part of the session we look at a skill. And this recording, which was shot in 2022, was panoramic photography. I went out into the field, I took a little video on my phone, and then we came back. And after watching that video, we looked at the workflow of panoramic photography within Classic and Photoshop. The second part of our time together is over to support. You've got a question today, how can you do something? Or perhaps you might have an issue within Classic and you're not sure about something. Well, we can help you with that. If you'd like to come and join us on these live events, just visit lightroommark.com and you'll see all the upcoming events. Now, without any further ado, I hope you enjoy the video, but let's jump across the recording, which was shot in June 2022. Bye for now. I have been efficient for you because you're going to get a little video. So let's go there, let's go there. Okay, so we're going to look at panoramics and let's hide that. And I spent a lovely day out and I did this video for you. So because there's two sides of panoramics and I thought I would show you just some little tips and tricks how to take a panoramic image. So it's not that long a video and I do waffle a bit as I usually do, but hopefully this will help you. Okay, so everyone ready?
Yep.
Okay guys, so panoramic photography. Lots of different workflows there are for this, and we're going to be taking this scene across here, and I'm just going to talk about theories. I'm not going to talk about brands or anything like that. I'm just going to give you some ideas and theories. Okay, so this is the equipment that I'm using, and I'm not expecting you to have this equipment. But there's something I want to explain about panos, which is quite key, and it's what we call the nodal point. Now, most people, when they take their panoramic, they will turn, and I'll show you that a little bit later, just like this to take the picture. But if you're going to create a panoramic correctly and less workflow in post-processing, we need to take it turning the lens on the central point of your focal length. So if I turn the camera around, I'm shooting at 20mm, which is roughly 70mm from the center of the tripod. So my camera is offset, and this is actually called the nodal point. So we can actually swing the camera and it's pivoting on this center point here, not pivoting on the sensor. Now, why do we do that? Well, if you want to capture it in camera and you swing like this, the panoramic you'll get will be a bow type shape, and I will take a photograph in that workflow to show you what that looks like. But photographing it on your nodal point, so you're spinning the camera on the center of your focal length in the lens, you'll get a more panoramic image. You'll capture more data. Now, the other thing you might notice that I'm shooting in portrait mode because I want to capture as much information vertically in one shot. Now, there's lots of other tips and tricks we can talk about using specialist lenses, for example PCE, a short perspection correction element, shift tilt lenses, where the camera will stay still and the lens will shift side to side and up and down, where you capture more information in that scene. But what I want to do is go click, 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 overlapping 1/3 of the time, and I'm capturing the maximum amount of image narrative in the shot. So that's what we're going to look at next. Did everyone hear that? Everyone understand that?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So rather than when we take a picture, we take a picture, and if I spin the camera, the arc here it's a big arc. It's doing this. I'm exaggerating. It's doing this with the camera, okay? And what that does, when you process the image, it gives you a bow tie effect. You lose a lot of data around the image, okay? Now, there are modern ways, and we will look at it briefly, of actually creating that content in Photoshop. But what you're supposed to do, or the precise way of doing it, is you spin your camera in the center point of the lens, and it will vary when you zoom. Okay, and there's a calculator, you can work out your nodal points. Okay, how many so you offset your camera, put it on the, all right, so it spins there. It doesn't spin on the plane of focus here, the sensor here. Okay, so the camera's offset. However, you can get around all that, but that's doing it. And I will show you 2 examples. This is one I did with the nodal plate. This is the one I did it handheld, okay? So I just have my camera set up. I've got nothing special at the moment. I'm not actually going to use this, but you can see there's my shot. Can you see I've actually got the maximum amount of information. And I'm going to take a picture like this. Okay, so I'm going to go click, 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 all the way through. So I'm capturing all this narrative of information top to bottom. This is why we shoot in portrait mode rather than landscape mode. It's fine to shoot in landscape mode, but you may have to take one picture here, 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 one picture here. So you're taking 9 pictures in a square or a Z format, where this way I'm capturing the same information, but it's in one line. Okay? Now, before I take the shot, you've got to think about, what am I photographing? What am I trying to say? But there's also something that some of you that have been with me some time may already know this. Anytime I'm doing something that's a group of images, I want to put a marker image at the beginning of the series and at the end of the series. Now, why is that? Well, when you might not look at these images for 2 or 3 weeks, especially if you're on holiday, and you'll look at it and go, why did I take that? Why did I take that? Why did I take that? And it's not until you get to towards the end of the series, perhaps it might be an HDR, high dynamic range image. So you start with a darker one and go to a lighter image. Oh, that's wrong exposure, that's wrong. And you start deleting images. You shouldn't do that in Lightroom. You should just cull them with an X and delete them later. So what I do is, for panoramics, I put one finger in front of the camera and I take my shot. Okay, now we will see later on when we go live, you'll see a picture with one finger in, and that is a visual marker, a stimulation to tell me something is coming up that belongs together with something. And then my last shot in that series is 2 fingers. So I do the same again, in front of the camera, 2 fingers. And that tells me that between 1 and 2 finger, they belong together. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be focus stacking, it could be an HDR, or it could be a panoramic. They belong together. Now, something I've developed over the years, I've taken a little bit further. If you're doing an HDR panoramic, I will start the series with 3 fingers, and I will end the series with 3 fingers. And each individual image, so if it's a focus stack, I will do 1, and then at the end of the focus stack, I will do 2, and then I'll move on to the next image and I'll go 1, and then 2, and then when I've gone through each of the frames, I will then do 3 at the end. So I know that I've got a group within a group. Okay, so they could be focus stacking or it could be HDR, and we'll do HDR panoramic in a minute, and I will do that 3, 1, 2, 3 format to show you actually what I do. Okay, so here's all the images that I took, and there is the two images that you saw me take. I've got one finger and two fingers. Okay. Now, if I was doing it myself, I would do one finger with my left hand and I would do two fingers with my right hand. So if I show you, I'm doing that. I'm pointing in between, okay? So everything that's in between those two gestures goes together, okay? And that's the reason is it's a reminder. If you've gone on holiday on a cruise or whatever, you might not look at these at Lightroom and later, you know, and I know some of you will know this, but yeah, it's just a reminder. It's just say, oh, these belong together. Why do they belong together? You need to look at the exposure and the settings and so on, okay? So if we take this series of images, oops, let's move that one out of the way. And then if I go N, and just move there. Okay, right, so you can see this is my panoramic. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images in my panoramic. But when I look at them, I know, as you can see, look, I've done one finger to the left, two fingers to the right. Okay, so it tells me when I look at these, I've gone on a photographic trip or I've gone on the day and I've looked at these 2 or 3 days later, that these images belong together. Okay, and it's so easy to look at these images later and just go, oh, that's a crap exposure, that's a crap, and you delete them, and all of a sudden you get to the last one and go, oh, that was a part of a HDR, or it was a focus stack. Well, focus stacking, you won't see from the preview that it's focus stacking. You need a form of visual stimulation to just remind you that there's a group of images coming together. It doesn't matter what you do. You can have a piece of paper and you write on it, a little whiteboard, you can write on it and go, focus stack, and take that within the image. It's just a visual stimulation. Okay. So now I'm going to take this shot. So I'm going to look at my framing. I'm going to get my exposure right. So I'm shooting in manual. I'm shooting the lowest ISO my camera supports because my camera is on a tripod, so I don't need to worry about my shutter speed at all. My depth of field is my important thing, so I'm looking at about f13, and just to give me the composition, I'm at 40th of a second, but it's way too bright. So there we go. I've got my focus point. I'm not going to refocus. That's really important. I want my focus point, my plane of focus distance from the sensor to my focus to be the same across all of the image. I don't want to focus down here, up here, over there, and so on. So I will no longer focus, okay? Another reason why we use back button focus. So now I'm going to look at my exposure. I'm just doing a standard panoramic now. So I'm looking at my histogram. There we go, everything's okay there. So I'm going to slightly underexpose this shot because it's so bright here. So I'm all ready now to take my images. Now, there are several different ways we can do this. You can set your camera on a delay, half a second delay. So you press the shutter button, your camera will wait half a second, then it will take the picture. Or we can use a cable release, which is what I'm doing here. So I'm going to take my first marker, so image, finger, take the picture. Okay, I'm no longer going to reframe. I'm going to look at my image. Now, turn the grids on your camera. Have those turned on, and when you move the camera through, you either go 10 degrees or 1/3 of your screen. So by having the grids on, you move 2/3 across, so you overlap by 1/3 each time. So I'm looking at my screen, I'm going to take the image, I'm looking at a marker point on the screen, and I'm going to move over and I'm going to make sure I've got at least 1/3 of the first image in the second image. So I'm looking at that grid line, taking that shot, and then I've taken my marker point, moved over again, taken another shot. See, I'm not focusing at all, and I'm moving again. I've taken another point on the screen, taken the next shot, And then one more I will do, so looking at the screen, taking a marker point, and there we go. So I've taken, I think it was 4 shots, and that goes from here, basically over to the hill. 2 fingers, okay, in the shot, take the picture. Now when we look at these in Lightroom, you'll see that I've got 1 and 2 fingers. Those belong together, okay? Okay, so now we're going to look at an HDR panoramic and the workflow of taking that HDR panoramic. So I'm going 3 fingers, so I know that is a group of 3 images, or a group of images that have brackets within. Then the next shot is 1 finger, and now I'm going to do an HDR shot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock down my turn. Okay, so I can't, because I'm going to touch the camera, it's not going to move, okay? So I work from dark to light. So I'm now going to manually change for 2 stops. Don't need 2 stops today. 1 stop, no, let's have a look, sorry. 2 stops underexposed. And I'm going to take the picture. Then I'm going to go 3 clicks, because we go thirds of exposure. And all I'm doing is I'm changing my shutter speed. So it's a slower shutter speed now, 1/250th second. 1 stop underexposed, 3 clicks. That's 1/25th. Again, half. Some of you know that you double and half lots of things in photography. So you half your shutter speed, double your shutter speed. So I've gone 2/50th, 3 clicks, 1 stop of light, 1/250th of a second. So I've gone from 1/250th, half it, 1/25th. That's 3 clicks on your shutter speed. Okay, so now I'm going to half it again. So it's 3 clicks again. 1/60th. Okay, 1/60, which is roughly half of 1/25. Double and half. It's 1 stop of light. Okay, so that's now that's 1 stop overexposed now, and I'm going to do 2 stops overexposed. So what is half of 60? Everyone? Yes, you're right. It's 1/30th, and that's exactly, I'm f13, 64 ISO, 1/30th. Really bright image. Why have I got a bright image? Because I'm capturing the information in the darks. Okay? Now, that's my 5 shot, 2 stops under, 1 stops under, middle exposure, 1 stop over, 2 stops over, 5 images. I'm now going to do 2 fingers, and then I'm going to undo the bracket, there we go, and I'm going to move the camera over 2/3, sorry. All right, just lap it over, lock it back in again, go back to 2 stops underexposed, and I might not use all these exposure settings, I might only use 3 of them, but while I'm here I'm capturing them. 1 finger, see the finger, 1 finger, 2 stops underexposed, hand off, take the picture. And your exposure settings, you may have to get 3 stops underexposed, 4 stops underexposed, depending on how much light there is, depending on what we're photographing. I can't tell you what your exposure will be today and your depth of field. Okay, this is a landscape, so I want a large depth of field. Okay, so I want a large depth of field, so I'm shooting f13. Lowest ISO, I'm on a tripod, and then what's the shutter speed giving me? So now we're at 2/50th, 1 stop underexposed, 125, that's correct exposure, what the camera says. I'm in matrix metering, camera doing it all for me, 1 stop overexposed, 2 stops overexposed, 2 fingers. Undo the catch. I think you've got it all by now realistically. And then 1 finger, because this is another series, so 2 stops underexposed, 1 stop, 3 clicks, correct exposure, 1 stop over, 2 stops over, 2 fingers, 1 finger, move me on another 1/3. Okay, and again, 2 stops underexposed, one stop underexposed, one stop over, 2 stops, 2 fingers, and I'll do one more shot just to do the panoramic. Undo the knob, turn away, do it back up, and 2 stops under, 1 stop under, correct exposure, 2 fingers, and now this is the important bit, 3 fingers. Why 3 fingers? Because that's the end of the series for the HDR panoramic. You can use your 1 fingers and 2 fingers for the actual frame, and then 3 fingers for the complete series when you're doing focus peaking or focus stacking, when you use focus peaking, and you're doing a series, or you're doing a panoramic HDR, you're doing a series, and it reminds you when we look back in Lightroom later in the grid gallery format, in the library module of Lightroom, in the grid format, you've got these visual stimulations, what they all belong together. Okay, so now I'm going to show you handheld. Okay guys, so we're looking at handheld. Now most times we will be doing this, okay, which is wrong. I'm sorry to say, in my opinion, it's wrong. What we should be doing is holding our camera still, and we should be moving. Can you see I'm moving? The camera is staying in the same place, or as near as I can get it. And I will do both these images and show you the difference in the technique and what you're getting with doing that. Okay, if you imagine that's a big arc, doing that and moving around the camera. So the center is here. Now, little tip, if your money's tight at the moment, isn't it, for everyone? Piece of string, okay, get a piece of string and perhaps a bolt or a nut or something not too heavy, but holds the string taut, okay? Put a loop around the string, okay? Tie the bolt on the end, put it on the floor. It's only one size fits all. Put your foot on it, pull the camera up tight, okay? This foot is not, this foot, can't see it, can you? This foot is not gonna move, okay? And you're holding the camera taut. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna skip or dance round that straight line. Okay, so that's the cheap way of actually doing it. Okay, or you get a nodal plate for your panning head, and like I have, and so on, and too much money. Okay, so again, we are doing a manual panoramic. Okay, and what I would call it the way that I do it. Okay, so I'm just going to do a panoramic. So I'm just going to set my settings. So something like that. I'm at 100th of a second f13, 64 ISO. 1 shot. We're now just going to frame the shot. Okay, there we go. So I'm not going to refocus. So I put my marker shot in. I'm going to hold the camera nice and still. 1, and I'm moving. 2, and I'm overlapping a third at a time. Okay, I'm trying to move. Okay, and then 2 fingers. Okay, now the more traditional way of people doing it, they're going to go 1 finger, shot, 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 2 fingers. But I've done this. Can you see the movement of the camera? When you're pulling at your face and you're moving, and what happens is, with the older way doing it, in the pan, you get a bow tie effect in the actual panoramic, and you have to use content-aware fill in Photoshop or Lightroom, or you crop the image. Now, with these bigger cameras, 40, whatever it is, 50 megapixels, if you have a large panoramic and you've captured it with all the data in there, you can have a massive print, 6, 12, 20, 30 feet long, you know, by 6, 8, 10 feet tall. But if you've had to crop it, you can't do a big print or zoom in or crop into it and so on, because you've lost that information. So that's the reason why. So hopefully, if I've done it right, we'll have 2 different examples to show you. Okay, back now to live. So I think you got the gist, and I'll just send up what I say. With bigger sensors, you capture more data anyway, and with content aware fill, you can actually reproduce images. Do you want to watch this video? I can, if I just stick the URL in the chat, so people can save it or whatever and look at it again later. I'll leave it up for a week or so. So, any questions about what I did there? Can't hear you, David.
Not really.
No. Do you want to add something, Tony, to it?
No, other than I've got, I must be reckon on a few dozen of those while I was in Ireland, but they're all manual. So the hey-ho, let's see what happens. I did do one while I was in Ireland, and it came out okay.
Were you saying something, David?
I was about to say one important factor is tripod needs to be level.
Yeah.
In all directions.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
that's why you have. Yeah, totally right, and that's why you use a pano head. You when you have your collar of your tripod. Okay. So most people, the collar of the tripod here, this will be level, but when you spin your pano head and you're doing this, it might be spinning at like a disc at an angle. So this is the part, because there's another eye bubble in the top here. So when you start, you make sure when you spin the head that it's near as damn it in the eye as you can get it all the time, which may be different to what your tripod is, the head here, the bubble here. So yes, David's totally right. Right, okay. So let me see if I can, what was I going to do next? So there we go. Let's share screen. So I've already imported these already, because this takes absolute ages to import them all. And I've already created the HDR, but I will show you how we do this at that time. Okay, so I've imported them. I took 385 images on that trip. And I created a collection. There's my collection of all the images. So I no longer need to work on the folders. I'm working on the collections. And I've then created some collections. So this is the nodal point. This is the first image that you saw me take. So if I press N, this is the images that I created. You can see the line is flat all the way through because it's level, and there's my marker points. Okay. So you don't use the first 2 images, obviously, in the workflow. And once, you know, I keep them for a little while and then I get rid of them. And then what I do is I go right click and Command G or Control G, and it puts them into a stack. Can you see that? They're like a playing card. And Shift, Command or Control, if you're on a PC, unstacks them. Okay. So I will, once I've finished and I've finished what I'm doing and I've done whatever, you know, it's for the client or whatever, or I've put it with a stock agency or whatever, I'll get rid of these 2 marker images. They will be deleted. And then to keep them together, I will put them in a stack like that. Okay. All right. So to create a panoramic, it's really simple these days. You go right, you select all the images, you go photo merge HDR, and you get this dialog. Okay, and it will then create a preview. Now we've got ghosting. What ghosting is if there's movement in the image. Okay, you've moved or the subject is moving. Okay, and you can select what you, how much movement and show the ghosting, etc., and so on. Okay. And create a panoramic for you. And it's trying to build the panoramic. Okay. And we have auto aligning. So it will line everything up for you. And we have auto settings. And we also have create and a stack. Now, the issue with creating a stack is it'll put these 5 images and the HDR in a stack. And a lot of times I don't want the HDR in that stack, so I don't tick that. Okay. All right. Okay. And actually I did HDR and I want panoramic. I pressed the wrong button. But it's the same applies. So you've got this stack, create a stack. Okay, there we go. Now, can you see this white space?
Yes.
Yeah. You can see how little dead space there is, can't you? How little dead space there's around that image. That's when you can see this arc, can't you? Yeah. If you look, if I zoom in, there we go. You can see this up. This is me moving the camera. I haven't exactly got my nodal point correct. If you use the calculator and work out exactly the nodal point for your lens, right, there won't be any white space at all. But you can see with this one, there's very little white space, and I probably wouldn't use any of that information up the top there. Okay, so bear in mind how little there is there. And when we go to another one in a minute, you'll see the difference it makes, okay? Doing it by hand, all right? Okay, and you can fill in the edges. This is the content aware fill. So you don't have to run out and buy the stuff that I've got, all right? If I click this button here, fill, okay? Lightroom will use the algorithm from Photoshop and it'll fill that white in. Boom, done. Okay. So the technology has replaced the physical equipment. Okay. Which is why I said, do you want to do this in camera on the video? Then we got auto crop, which will actually crop this image for me. Okay. We can apply auto settings, but if we shot it in manual, we should be controlling this ourselves. Okay. So by just using this 4 buttons, we can do most of the work in Classic. Okay. Now, one part of my workflow that I do prior to doing that is I take the first image, I go into the develop module, and I go to my spot healing tool, which is underneath the histogram. I turn on my visible spots, and I go to 200%, go right to the top, and I come down, scroll down. I'm just using the scroll down, and I'm looking to see if there's any sensor dust. Okay, I'm hoping there isn't. Oh, look, there is. Look, there. Boom, boom, boom. I did clean the sensor 2 days before. Okay, so I've had 3 bits of dust. That's done. Okay, now what I now do is I've got this is my active image. I select the rest of the images, bring the control panel, the panel out, sync settings, and I sync spot removal. And that, what I've done on the left, the first image, the active image, those sense dust spots have been taken out on the other 4. I've synced them already. Okay, so I've done it to 1 image. And it's now synced it to all of them. So all the dust spots are taken off the other 4 now. Lightroom's done that for me. Okay. And then for speed, there's my panoramic. I've done nothing to it. Okay. All right. Nice, straight, flat, easy to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
good, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the one that's on the nodal plate. This one I did by hand. It's the one I did at the end. Okay, move that out. Okay, so there's my panoramic images. Okay, if I click here, there you can now see how much white there is around the image. Okay, and how uneven that horizon line is, because I did it by hand. Okay, so you can see you're losing a lot more information by sweeping round rather than keeping the camera as close as you can to that center point. But with cameras that have got like, you've got 50 megapixels, I've got 50 my Z7 and so on, that amount of information is hardly anything. And as I showed you, you can content aware fill this. Yeah. Or if I just I could just sit there and go, well, I'm not really worried about that. I'm just gonna crop the image now because I've got so much information. Just gonna crop it. Okay. And that's got rid of the white stuff. Bless you.
Bless you, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. If I have the data on that image, yeah, that's 205 megabyte files. So what I've just taken off is hardly anything. Okay, that might be half a foot, 6 inches away around on the final print. Okay, but it's just showing you the difference that it makes by moving the camera on its nodal point or walking around the lens itself. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So last one before we get on to the develop is the HDR. And as you can see, first image has got 3 fingers, last image has got 3 fingers. Okay. And you can see next one's got 1 finger. I might get rid of that. I'll do that, make it bigger. I've got 3 fingers, 1 finger, 2 fingers, 1 finger, 2 fingers, 1 finger, 2 fingers, 1 finger. So these are the frames. See, look, 1 finger, it starts there. There's the next 5. Ends on that one. Starts again. There's the next one. That's the last frame. White frame. There's 3 fingers. So there's all the images. Now, to make this an HDR panoramic, you press the command and control the images that you want to select. Okay, so you don't put, I'm just clicking on the actual images itself. So there's all my active images. I haven't clicked on any of them that got fingers in them. And I go right click, photo merge, HDR panoramic. And this will take a while. I've already done it you can see it's already down there in the bottom right hand corner. But you can see that's the HDR. Okay, I could fill edges. It might take a little while. Okay, it'll take a little while. Come back. But you can also warp the boundaries, so you can start to change. You can stretch it, stretch the image. So this is how I would have done that. That one I did by hand, by warping the boundaries. I'm straightening this line here. Okay. And then I will just hit merge. Okay, which is what I've done, this image here. Okay, and this is an HDR panoramic. So there was what, 25 images, something like that in this one picture, capturing all the highlights and all the shadows and everything in between. Okay, then you edit that one particular image, just like you would edit a normal image. Okay. Not rocket science, quite easy, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So what I now do with the workflow that I've adopted since having my last couple of months ago, Adobe Zoom, is in collections. So there's my collection. See, I no longer go anywhere near the folders anymore. I've created a collection with all the images in that I took on the day. There they all are, all in that place. And it doesn't matter what I've taken them with. If I go to metadata, right, there's my iPhone pictures. There's my Z2. There's one. That's what James took of me. Okay. So I can select everything that I need to know, front camera, back camera, everything I need to know, I can select without going anywhere near my folders, without wearing my hard drive out. All these are previews to the catalog. So my hard drive is not working at all. Okay. And if I want to create another work on these images, I create another collection, which is what I've done here. Here is the panoramic, the first panoramic that I took on the nodal plate. I've just added them to a new collection. This collection is, all I've done is I've selected them. So I've gone from, let's just say I've gone from there to there, and I've pressed the letter B because it's a target collection. Target collection's got a plus on it. To create a target collection, you just go right click, set as a target collection, and you can just press the letter B and it adds it to the target collection. And now I work from here. So rather than moving the files around, okay, I'm just using collections. I'm not creating the opportunity to delete, move, because there's only three things that you should do in the folders: rename, move, and delete. Okay. And you're not going to do any of those because you put them in the final resting place. You rename them on import. The only thing you're going to do is delete them, but you put an X and press Command or Control Delete, and it then deletes them anyway. So you don't need to go back to folders. Okay. All right. And if I want to create this one here, if I want to create a second copy of this, okay, I can go create new collection and call it 5 Pano by hand. Okay. All right. And then include those images, but make a virtual copy of them. Okay. So we just wait for that to do that. There it is. And these are virtual copies. So now there's my originals. Okay. But these now are virtual copies. So if I want to go right click and let's see, hopefully it will do it quickly. Let's do this. There we go. Let's fill in the edges. No, actually this is just auto crop. Okay, let's warp my boundary. That's a bit better. Okay, it's going to create my HDR. Sorry, panoramic. I said HDR, didn't I? Come on, machine. This is where we all go and get a cup of tea. Okay, so there's my panoramic. Okay, it creates a new file. It's put it in next to, which is why it's opened up the folders. There it is there. And if I now want to do this, create this a black and white, just make it black and white, G. All right, but if I go back to the original, there's the color one. There's the black and white one. I haven't gone anywhere near my folders. I haven't created the opportunity in accidentally deleting them or moving them or corrupting them, or perhaps a drive ejects while you're trying to move them, or perhaps you drop them in the wrong folder. I've eliminated all that risk. Has now been totally eliminated. And then when I finish with these collections, I can just delete the collections if I wish. Just highlight them all, right click and delete. Or I can just hide them away, leave them there for a while and come back to them later. I'm not creating any extra memory, any extra space. They're just links, they're lines in the catalog. And as you can see, it's working so much faster. This tip that Adobe gave me, the evangelist, that we had this Zoom about 6-8 weeks ago. all these little things that they're trying to push out, different working practice. So you get the engineers doing X, and they're then trying to get people to do X a particular way because it speeds Lightroom up. So yeah, so much easier. So much easier. Okay, so now we will edit this image how we want to edit it. And if we want to create different versions, we can do that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That makes sense, everyone? Yeah. Okay. So one last tip, because it's been an hour now, is when Lightroom Classic creates a panoramic, it renames it, and you can put whatever renaming you want in the structure. Okay, it's under file renaming, F2. Okay, and I've put the word pano. Okay, quite straightforward. All right, it goes -PANO, and my HDRs do -HDR. And when I edit externally, it does _E, and then I've got a sequencing number. So I'm at something like about 700 and something. I've only in the whole of my life, or in this current catalog, edited 600-700 images outside of Lightroom. Okay, it keeps a sequential number counting. So I know it's been edited outside of Lightroom. Okay, now, little trick, smart collection. Here is a smart collection. On the right-hand side, Pano 5, it's called. I double click on it. File name contains Pano, P-A-N-O. And there is, I don't have to hunt for them. There are all my panoramics. And I've done it, set it up in this place where it's all of them in this collection. But you can do it so it's the whole of your catalogue. And you can do it so it's all your HDRs. Yeah, all your external edited images. Whatever you want to do. But this is a collection of all the panoramics in these collections, which are these 4 here. But if I did another one, it would add it to this smart collection. So I don't have to go hunting for them. There they are. Okay. So you just do that by go add smart collection, file name contains Pano. So from the drop down, and away you go. And then you get source collection. So from a collection, etc. and so on. Okay. So you tell it where to look, and it gives you that. All right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions about it?
Nope.
Yeah. Helen, do you know what a panoramic is now? Yeah. And you can do exactly the same with your mobile phone. Okay. All right. So with your mobile phone, you can use Lightroom, because I would suggest using Lightroom. Okay. Because you can put it into, I'll show you, try and do it here. Okay. Down, you see down the bottom, there's this button here, and in mine at the moment says, but it says professional. Okay. And the reason why you put it in professional is you can set it up as manual. So you can go, rather than having auto shutter speed and auto ISO, you can set those. Okay. So you can sit there and look at the screen and go, yeah, that's right. I like those settings, as long as they're not on auto, because the reason why is if they're on auto, when you move the camera to your next shot, it'll have different settings. Okay, so what you want to do is make sure that in the pro mode, you've got the seconds and ISO set to a numerical value. Okay, how you're happy with the exposure and the histogram, you do your one finger and then you go click. But rather than doing this, which we see everyone do, you turn the phone like that. Okay. And it captures more of the narrative of the picture. So you don't go like this, like we see traditionally with the Pano, because the native app just uses video. Okay. And it just does this. All right. Don't do that. What we do is we hold it. We've set the time, the ISO for the same for each image. We take one picture with our finger And then we turn the camera like this, spinning the camera on this axis here. So my nodal point is here. Okay. And we go click, 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 click. And then we'll get to the end, click 2 fingers. And it's exactly the same as what I've just showed you with your mobile phone. And you get, what are iPhones these days? 12 megapixels or something? Whatever megapixels you got on your smartphone, you can get a massive great big panoramic, a proper panoramic image, not what the algorithms that Apple or Samsung give you when you do the mobile phone. It comes out all grainy. Okay, and they're absolutely brilliant. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these have nearly come redundant. Not quite, but there we go. Okay. Any questions about that? Anything you need me to go back over? You're all quiet. Okay, right. So the task tonight, I was going to show you how to customize your user interface in Lightroom Classic, because there's a lot of things that we don't use. Okay, and you can get rid of them. Hide this. Okay, so let's move that down there. Okay, so up the top right hand corner we have our modules. Okay, we can right click. If you right click by the word library, just to the left of the word library, it brings down the module selector. Okay, but untick the word web, the web module disappears. If you click again, you can bring it back. Perhaps you don't use slideshow. It's now disappeared. So you can, so if you're working on a laptop and only a laptop, and screen real estate is really important, and this is taking up room, and you don't use those modules, you can turn them off. Okay, but you can always bring them back. Okay, and same with your panels. So I'm over the top left-hand corner now. I never used to use the catalog panel, but I now use it for missing photos. But you can go right click and you can turn off, so I've hidden the catalog. Okay, so hide these panels. Okay, now I always suggest you have solo mode switched on. Okay, because as you jump through the panels, the other one closes automatically for you. If you want a second panel to open, so for example, if you want the folders and collections both to be open, hold the shift key down. Okay, so if I click on collections, then click on folders, the collection closes. If I shift click on collections, they both stay open. Okay.
Where was that solo?
Right click next to the word anything on these panels. So folders, right click next to it and it comes down solo. Okay, you have to do it if you want it on the other side. You can do the other side. So you go right click by one of the titles, solo mode. You have to do it either side. Okay, and again, exactly on the left, you can do on the right. If you don't use the quick develop, you can turn the quick develop off and hide it. Okay, if there's certain things you don't use, you can just turn them off. Okay, if you come down to the little triangles, there's 3, 6, 12, and 9. If you right click on them, you can select the functionality of how they work. So I always have mine on manual. Okay, but some people like auto hide. Okay, so auto hide is you click to open, and when you pull away the mouse away, it'll disappear. You click on it to open, pull away, it disappears. I can see that a lot of people using that, but I creature of habit, I click on and click off. There is another one, auto hide and auto show, which I find really annoying. You hide, you come over it, you do something, you go right to the edge, you're trying to do something and it disappears and you have to go back again. So I just have mine in manual. And you can, there's a button here, sync with opposite panels. So whatever the left is the right is, whatever the right is, whatever the top is. And same with top and bottom. Okay, so again, if real estate is really important, T for toolbar, okay, All right, if that's really important, you can hide that bit at the top if you don't need it. Same at the bottom. There's your film strip. I only use the film strip if I go into the print module or the book module. So it's always closed for me. Same on the right-hand side and the little triangle at 3 o'clock. Mine is manual. And if you don't use comments, if you don't share images with people that use Lightroom, then just turn comments off. Save the screen. Okay. All right, but I share a lot of images and people comment on my images and it all comes back within Lightroom, just like Facebook, exactly the same, but it's all within Lightroom. You can see it on my mobile phone. This logo here, this Lightroom mark, these are called end marks and they are under the Lightroom or it'll be under edit, under preferences on a PC. And I think it's under interface. There we go. Panels, end marks. And you create a PNG file, so it's transparent, and you'll have to play with the opacity in when you create your logo or whatever to go in there to get the right effect, how strong you want it. Okay, and that's what these are called end marks. Okay, most people don't have them. I only have them in this because putting stuff on Facebook and things like that. While we're here, we'll have a look. Lights out. So if you press L, you get 3 settings: normal, dim, and lights out totally. You can set the dim setting, okay? And that's like how opaque the surrounding of the screen is. So I'll show you. So let's go, oops. Just do that. So I'll press L once. You can set that dim around the outside, and it's 80%, and then press L again, goes totally dark. Press L again, it takes you back. Okay, that's where that is there. Background fill, so that's the grey round the outside, and I use middle grey, okay, which is 50% grey, which is, and I have the same in Photoshop, and I have the same in all my other pieces of software. I have all these colors set the same. So when I install the software, I go through making sure I've got an Evernote note somewhere with all my settings of what the colors are, what the middle gray is, and all that. And I transpose that because I want these images to look the same. I want this gray here, it's round it. I want that to look the same. So when I go to look at it in another package, because I'm doing something, I want it presented to me the same as it is in Classic. Okay. All right. So that's where you set under preferences and that. And then the last thing I'm going to show you here is it's called the identity panel. And this is this bit up here where I've got lightroommark.com. And you can personalize. You can just have your Adobe ID. So there we go. Just have Lightroom Classic and my name. I can have the words Lightroom Classic, just like that. Or you can personalize it. And when you personalize it, you can have a graphic. You can put your logo in there if it's not, I don't know what the dimensions is, it's not too big. You can type whatever you want in there. And as you can see, I've made it symmetrical. I've used the same font. I've used the same format of white and grey, so it looks the same all the way across, and away you go. And there's you can drag an image into here and have a graphic now. You choose that, whatever you want. Okay, and that's the identity plate. But a lot of people, you'll probably just have it, just as the default, which will be Adobe ID, just like that. And I just use it for, it's an advert in when I do a YouTube video, it's always up there. Okay. And that's how you set your interface up. Oh, I'll do the develop one. There's a reasonably new thing in the develop module. So let's go and find an image. Let's do that one. Okay. You can now adjust the order and turn these panels off. So if you go right click on one of the panels, so next to the tone bar, and this is the default, the way this is, but you might want to change the order for your workflow. So you go right click, and again, the solo panels there, etc., and so on. Go right, and now you can turn these off. So if you never use calibration, you can turn it off, press save, and it disappears. Okay. Again, if real estate is important, screen real estate, you can now, if you come to the left-hand side of it, you can drag the order. So how I would normally work, I do calibration, I do lens, graduation, details, transform. So that's the order I have it in usually. Press save. I have to relaunch. So Lightroom, so wait for that to do that. Okay, and there we go. Now it's in the order. Oops. It's now in the order that I've asked it to be in. Okay, so I start with this workflow. I make sure the version's right. I put a bit of blue saturation in there to play with my greens. I make sure my lens profiles are on, which they are. I straighten anything to make sure that's okay, which it is, because I didn't know. And then I go to the develop module, and the basic module. And I sit there and go, right, let's bring down the exposure a tad. Let's open up highlights, bring down the shadows. Let's do the other way around, something like that. And I can then play with my settings. Okay. And this is the order that I work in. Okay, so a bit of tone curve adjustment. So just bring that bit down there. And I'm just working down how I want things to work like. So a bit of mask. There we go. And a bit of vignette. And there we go. And that's the image done. And then I'll just press tab to get rid of everything. Oh, lights out, have a look, and there we go. Simple stuff. And my focus point, everything along the line of where the tree is will be pin sharp in focus. And that's it. Okay, so you can customize everything in Lightroom, how it's presented to you. And my recommendation would be, once you're happy with how you've customized it, is to then take those colors and those fonts and so on and match them in Photoshop. So the image, when you switch between Photoshop and Lightroom, or if you use On1 or Luminar, or I can't think of any others, one thing, Silver Effects, or the colors and everything. So when you jump into the other screen, you go, oh my God, you don't get that. That's totally different colors, because it's this plain, bland look of what classic is, colors presented the same. Okay. David's nodding. That's nice. Any questions about that? All quiet. Right. Does anyone need any help with Lightroom Classic? Anyone got any questions?
I've got when I went on holiday, I did put some images into Lightroom, which are now full-size images on Lightroom, but I want to bring them back into Lightroom Classic. How do I do that?
Okay, so they're in Lightroom on your laptop.
Yep.
Yeah. So you log into your account in Lightroom, and they'll sync to the cloud. And in Classic, you have a folder. So if we go Classic Preferences and Lightroom Syncing, and this location here, wherever it is, if you haven't set it up, you'll have to either change it or find it. Okay, this setting here, and you can then change the subcategory format. So this is my format, it goes into the year, a larger folder, and then it goes into a subfolder automatically, and they then appear, in my case, images here. So any image that I take with this account, they appear in this folder. Okay, it syncs automatically into this folder, into Classic, and that is the raw file, the file that you've uploaded, whether it's your mobile phone or an image that you've imported from your camera into your laptop. It will appear here. You don't need to do anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you've found that location, you might need to change it, which you can. You can just click on it and change the location. And Lightroom Classic will ask you, do you want to move the files that are in there already to the new location? You want to go yes. And it moves them into that location. But I've got this LR Cloud, I call it in mine, which then says to me in my folder structure, that's the images that have either come from my mobile phone or I've imported them from Lightroom from my desktop. From my laptop. Okay. Now I've got the 1 terabyte, so I can put 25,000 50 meg files in there. I can take 25,000 pictures with that and sync them from my laptop, because bear in mind, when you import them into your laptop using Lightroom, or you take the picture with your phone, okay, once it's synced into the cloud, so it's transmitted from your phone or from your laptop, the file is no longer on the device. The file is in the cloud. It's only a smart preview that stays on the device. Okay. If you don't sync it, so you've got no connection, no data on your mobile phone, you haven't synced your laptop, they will stay on your laptop. We did that. Malcolm was here ages and ages ago. And we actually tried it. And I went, oh, I don't know the answer to that one, Malcolm. Let's try it. So I turned off the mobile bit and they sat on my laptop. I turned off the internet connection. They sat on my laptop until I connected. And they were the raw file. So they sit there until you get. So if you're on a cruise, Joan, and you've got no internet access, you import them into Lightroom. They stay on your laptop in Lightroom. They stay on your mobile phone until you've got internet connection, and it sends them to the cloud.
Okay.
All right, and they stay in your cloud. Okay, so your 20 gigabytes, and then sync back down to Classic when you turn Classic on. Okay, and then you go and remove them in the cloud. Okay.
So how do I get them though? I want them on my computer to be able to back up and everything. I want to take them out of the cloud, remove them from there, and yeah,
that they will already be in Classic. If Classic is syncing, green tick box in the corner, they're already sitting in Classic. If Classic is synced to the cloud and they were in the cloud, they're already sitting there.
Where though?
Where? In that folder.
I can see them. I can see them in that folder.
Yeah.
I want them. I don't want them in there. I want them out to the cloud. I want them. I don't want to be.
No. In Classic, they are sitting on your computer in that drive, wherever it is on your drive. If you go right click, show in Finder, you'll see it on your drive. It's not in the cloud. Once it's synced, so it's a temporary space. In the cloud, it's a temporary space. So you're in Classic, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're looking at the image that you're talking about in Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go into your folder structure on the left-hand side, go show in Finder.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I've got it on sort of laptop, whatever. But I don't want them there.
Yeah, fine. Then just drag them and put them where you want to put them. If you want to put them on another drive outside of Classic, then just move them in Finder.
can I just put them in? Literally just drag them.
Yeah. Yeah, literally just so have you got you're talking about backup and things like that, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you run that within Classic?
Yeah.
Right. So then in your folder structure on your left-hand side, just drag them into the location you want to put them.
Okay.
Right. So hang on. So right. So let me show you, right? Okay. So I'm going to say this, right? These 3 images here, right? These are your 3 images.
Yeah.
Right. I want to put them in that folder that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. So these 3 images, I can either select the folder or select the images. Okay. Going to select the folder and I'm going to drag it and put it there. That's it. Done.
Okay. Oh.
That's it.
Okay.
That is it. Done. Right. Right. Okay. Simple as that.
Yeah. But
okay.
Will they be still taking up space or not?
Yes. Yeah. What you then have to do, right? So if you go into Lightroom and then just delete them.
Okay.
And that's how you free them up in the cloud. Okay. So what I do, and I had a battle with somebody yesterday on a one-to-one Lightroom. Yeah, no, you're moving them across. You're copying. Well, you're not copying. You're moving them in Classic. You're moving them, but it's only a copy from the cloud. So then to free up your space, you have to go into the cloud, which is easier to do it in Lightroom and just delete the images. Yeah. So my practice is I do it by dates. So so what I do is, just to show you quickly, right, is I remember this date, right? Right. So that date, and then I go to Lightroom, I go and search by date. I just click on, it's got dates, and I click on that date. I make sure this number is the same. How many images? 3. Oh, yes, it is. Select all, delete. That's it, done.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And that's the only manual thing really that bugs me about that. When you drag them out of the cloud folder in Classic, it doesn't delete them out of the cloud. Or I'll put my hands up. I'm not aware of an automatic way of doing that. Okay. If I drag them out of the cloud folder, you still have to go into Lightroom and delete them out of Lightroom. And I don't, you can, there are filters in Lightroom where you can say, show me all my synced images from Classic, show me all my locally stored, show me all my synced. You can do that, yeah. But from a business point of view, if I was Adobe saying, give me your money, I want you to fill up the cloud. So then you pay another £9 each month for the 1 terabyte. All right. But because I store tons and tons of files in there for lots of different reasons, and, you know, I used to have a Dropbox account. I used to have this account. I used to have a Google Drive. Now I just have one Adobe account, and then I have my Microsoft Office account. So I've got 2 1 terabyte cloud accounts. That's it. I used to have, you know, Dropbox 3 terabytes, this with that, and so on. It came up to renewal and went, hang on, I'm paying 500 quid a year for cloud storage. No, I've just got 2 now. That's it. So there we go. Right. Any questions? Anything you want me to go back over?
Let's digest what you've said, then we'll think of the questions at a later date. It's all right, my brain's still traveling, I think.
Yeah, it's still getting over the real Guinness, isn't it?
The Guinness and the Irish whiskey.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And the waves on the sea.
Oh, the waves are nothing. You don't feel them after a bit.
Oh, well, after a bit of Irish whiskey, is that?
Correct.
Okay, guys. Well, if you've got no questions, yeah, write your questions down on a bit of paper and ask them this time next week. All right.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you all. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye.
Enjoy
Bye.
yourself. Bye.
Bye then. Bye.